Hi everyone and welcome to your horoscope for the week of February 21st, 2022. This is one of those weeks where we have an incredibly strong and intense sky. This is where the energies at work, on one hand, they represent a very strong personal empowerment, and also this is the very beginning of the empowerment. This empowerment acts like a crescendo, so this is just the beginning. It will get even more intense, even more powerful after next week when Mars is in perfect exaltation, 27 degrees of Capricorn, very, very, very close to Pluto and Venus. So that will be definitely a moment when this personal empowerment will reach its peak. And when I'm speaking about personal empowerment, well, this is the Martian expression. Strong willpower, ambition, determination, clarity of focus, knowing too well where it is that where we invest our energies, our intention, our sacrifice, our time into, well, that very quickly, almost immediately, becomes bearing a fruit. So very, very prosperous. This is one of the greater blessings of a Mars in exaltation. But of course, there is the other side of the spectrum, because this personal empowerment, where the astrological dances are just increasing, amplifying our psychological fortitude, our strength of will, our inner fire, so to speak, the Martian expression. So this means that everything that we do, take action, speak, decide, express, or project onto other people, Pluto, of course, is that much more efficient, powerful, and as I said, it bears fruit almost immediately. But the other side of the spectrum is what fated events are taking place in our lives, because fate is also extremely strong, especially because we begin this week with the sun freshly entered into the sign of Pisces, and every single year when the sun transits through this part of the sky, the part which signifies finalities, endings, completion, that is one of the most karmic periods of the year. So definitely this Pisces season is going to be extremely karmic, perhaps more karmic than a lot of us alive today ever experienced, because this is when both Jupiter and Neptune, so the two rulers of this sign, are together in that part of the sky. So the sun illuminates it, activates it, makes this that much more stronger. So fate is playing out in our lives like a wildfire. This is where certain karmic energies that have been blocked in our lives for many, many years, at least the past 12 years, are now being dissolved, purified, closed, made ready to be released very, very quickly by us. And this is where people from the distant past just pop up in our lives. Certain soul connections, karmic relationships resumes, other modify, others terminate forever. A lot of cord cutting. This is where a lot of karmic debt is being repaid. When someone helped you out big time in your life, maybe this is the moment, the period when you have to repay that one way or another, or vice versa, of course. So this is when fate really, really shapes and forms our lives. And as I said, 50% of this is our own choice and our own willpower. So that which we plan ourselves, that which we desire very subjectively, perhaps nothing to do with the will or the course of fate, well, that is also very, very highlighted and supported, but also where fate wants to take us, well, that cannot be ignored in this period. There are a lot of signs, synchronicities. Fate is almost speaking to us literally through everything that we basically become aware of. This is a really, really intense and strong karmic time. And it is very rare when this timing coincides, when the universe equally supports us, our subjective, very personal will, and our destiny, the path which we need to take fatedly at the same time, because usually it happens in different cycles. There is a cycle attributed to us and everything subjective in our lives, and usually it is followed by a more fated cycle when we have to do what we promised to do in this incarnation before we were born, let's say. So it is rare for these two to play out in our lives at the same time. So this is why this energy and this sky is really positive. It is rare to be this very, let's say, empowered, so much given into our hands power-wise, but because it is so severe, it is so fated, it feels very, very heavy. Because with this empowerment, we have to do the impossible right now. For a lot of people, this is the period of massive breakthroughs. Perhaps some people will break their major karmic limitation in life, that which until now, regardless of your age, was simply impossible, and now you accomplish it. Or when there is a big burden, an obstacle in your life, regardless of what that is, psychological, physical, within family, karmic, whatever, this is when you can eliminate it once and for all. Or some people need a massive life upgrade, life transformation, others a big new beginning. But when I say new, it's like totally new, like the Fool card in tarot, the zero, the absolute, immaculate new beginning, so to speak. So this is the period when it all begins. This week is already very active and the energy is building up, and it's gonna be the week after when this energy will definitely show clear results. Also, the major aspect of the week is the dance of Mars and Venus, like cosmic lovers. The female principle, Venus, the magnetism of our values, everything that we love, and the male principle, Mars, the passion, the desire, the arrow, the singularity of someone's will. These two power players chasing each other in a cosmic dance of love and union. Well, this energy is definitely gonna give birth to something in our lives, depending, of course, in which area of our lives this Capricorn, Venus and Mars dance falls into. This week, by the very end of this week, they're going to be reaching 24 degrees of Capricorn, both Venus and Mars. That also means that they're very, very closely conjunct to Pluto already. So the very end of the week is going to be intense in so very, very many different ways, both individually, but of course also on the world stage. And that is also the beginning, because both this Mars and Venus are going to meet with Pluto with precision the week after. So that is also going to be a very, very important moment. But this week, however, their dance, this Venus and Mars dance, is important for another reason, because it will activate 22 and 23 degrees of the sign of Capricorn. Now that degree was where the conjunction of Pluto and Saturn, a very, very rare conjunction that takes place around every 500 years or so, and when it does in the sign of Capricorn, it basically changes the very foundations, the very structure of our world. And this conversation took place on 12th of January 2020, and it did change our world profoundly. And because the dance of Mars and Venus will activate this degree again this week, one way or another, all of us are going to be reminded of just how profoundly our lives, our modus vivendi, our values and all of our value systems, physically speaking, psychologically, spiritually, in any way, shape or form speaking, how very, very different we are and everything in our lives is right now. And some of the differences are not even just palpable ones. Everything simply, perhaps unexplainably, feels very, very different. Almost like we're definitely, without even a shadow of a doubt, we're living different times, a different age, a different era. Perhaps 2-3 years ago, this feeling that was very strongly in the air was just a premonition. It was just where we could have questioned it. Is it just my subjective feeling, or is something truly happening? Well, now we know that it was a very strong premonition and something actually did happen. And now we get to live and see just how much everything around us, inside of us, basically even philosophically speaking, so the very core of our understanding of life as a collective, changed and transformed. But of course, since we readapted in our own unique special ways to all of this change, because ultimately that is Saturn's greatest mission in the sign of Aquarius right now, and the other planets are joining slowly and surely. And yet, since everything changed profoundly, we're already fertile enough, stable enough, even if our fertility is our inner chaos and uncertainty, yet we are ready to give birth to something. And chances are that until the end of April, many of us, if not everyone in their own unique way, is definitely gonna give birth to something new in their lives, whatever this Venus and Mars conjunction represents for them personally. It can be career related, it can be love and romance, it can be a new study, it can be so very many different things, anything can be included here, but the change is gonna be profound, and whatever is born out of this creative spark, well, it is going to be a value for our long-term futures. And it is also the result of whatever we went through since January 2020 up until this moment. So however we lived the massive world change and how it impacted us personally as well, well, that wisdom, lived experience is definitely an integrated part of this new value, this new normality that we are living and everything that we are creating in it. Now, to be a little bit more down to earth, this Venus and Mars conjunction, and I'm saying this is not just this week, this is up until the very, very end of March, going way comfortably in the middle of April, because this energy will still linger in the sky. So we have this opportunity to put our will into something, our focus, our values, to go after the things we want, to invest in ourselves, to invest in our futures, whatever that means for us personally. And as I said, it's not just us alone. 50% is fated, 50% is the contribution of the universe itself. And also, this energy, this Mars and Venus conjunction is sextiled by Neptune. So basically, it requires you to dream big and be very, very certain and sure of your dream right now, because that is the speciality of Neptune. When Neptune in the sign of Pisces holds this sextile with planets in Capricorn, and in this case, not any planet, but the planet of value and love, Venus, and then the planet of action, the activator, Mars, that means manifestation. So dream big and invest a lot of inner energy into your dreams, believing it, embracing it, being it. Let it exist within you, and chances are it's gonna show up in your life one way or another. Even if it's just symbolically, you can still work with it, because this is practical Capricorn energy. Needless to say, a wonderful period for artists, for anyone who works with creativity, for psychologists, healers, spiritualists, so anyone who kind of works with anything Piscean of nature. The sun in Pisces, like always, a really, really good period for detox, for spiritual, psychological, physical purity, to clean up our homes, to make order, to rearrange stuff, to disinfect everything big time. And that, of course, always included spiritually as well, when we can do a lot of purification work, shadow work, banishing work, anything to purify both the mind, the heart, and the integrity of the soul. So this is a really, really good period for purges, purifications, detoxes, any kind of abstinence, or when you dedicate yourself much more to spiritual or purifying practices, even if that purifying practice is just healthier living, detox, a diet, even if it's not something spiritual in nature, it is always supported. Now there is a conversation of tension, an energy of inconvenience more than anything between Mercury, planet of the mind, just freshly entered Aquarius, a sign, a part of the sky where it's pretty comfortable, and its higher octave Uranus. Now this square isn't really new because this was already held when Mercury was beginning to go retrograde. So this is like an encore of the same energy. Well, this Uranus and Mercury square can represent the motivation, the inner power and empowerment that is necessary for us to make a complicated decision, a major financial decision, a decision to change, upgrade, or go against whatever represented comfort and normality for us personally in any area of life, but of course, especially where this Aquarius and Taurus falls into your personal chart. But of course, this can represent where once, so perhaps in December and all of January, communication news or schedules, appointments, etc., anything mercurial of nature was set back, was blocked, it always suffered unexpected modifications. Now you're finally resolving that, solving the problems regardless of the setbacks. This square between Uranus and Mercury can represent this final showdown of the Mercury retrograde period, when either the information and the clarity that we accumulated is crystal clear within us, so it helps us, it empowers us, it represents the Uranus within us, the awareness, or it can mean a momentum or perhaps help from our friends, from our connections, from our acquaintances to sort out documents, legal problems, meetings, certain paperwork that awaits us, or certain travels that we need to go on. So this square might give us the best possible expression of the Mercury and Uranus square, which can, cause a lot of malfunctions. It can break down our cars, it can break down our computers, our phones, and it can also make us pretty impulsive and rebellious, especially verbally. So it may bring out the worst from us, temper-wise, but fortunately it's just Mercury, so it's just verbal communication, etc. But be careful not to speak before you truly think it through. Now on the world stage, there is going to be a lot of disruption out there, perhaps on the internet, perhaps the electricity grid, perhaps an incoming solar storm or something of this nature. It can also represent disruption of communication. Its worst expression can represent like internet cyber terrorism and sabotaging websites of banks and big institutions. So we're likely to see that playing out in the world this week as well. And at the same time, we have another very rebellious energy playing out, because this Venus and Mars conjunction is squaring Eris, goddess of discord, in the sign of Aries. So this means protests. This means that people are going to fight for what is theirs by right. So this probably means some money or something that the government promised them. This can also mean human rights. This can mean, for people to finally get what they were promised or get what they asked for. The Venus and Mars conjunction in Capricorn, so on the world stage, centralized power has to give them, or if not, somehow find a way to enable, to give people what they need, what they ask for, their happiness and satisfaction. Well, that matters a lot in this period. because there is plenty other distractions and chaos going on in the world stage of different nature, so at least people need to support or at least be in tolerable relations with their own government, if that makes sense. Mercury is also getting very close to Saturn in the sign of Aquarius, so that this means impediment of free speech, this means censorship, this means cutting out or censoring or modifying certain informations for the sake of political fairness and correctness. But of course this will lead to a big disagreement and to a big fight of what is censorship, what is not, what is allowed, what is not allowed, what is freedom truly. Not just communication wise and mediatically speaking, but also, what is freedom? What is human rights? Saturn asks the question, well, how does it look like physically? Because we all know the theory Mercury, we all know how it looks like on paper, constitution, etc. But what do we do with it physically? If it doesn't exist physically, then, we have to fight. We have to take action. And that is exactly what is going to happen. So, because of Mars activating Eris once again, there will be a lot of fight, there will be a lot of protests, there will be a lot of uprising, and conflicts can take many shapes and forms. So this can also represent the international conflict escalating, but it can also represent inner conflict between the borders of a country. And at the same time, we must not forget that the US still has its Pluto return. It is just getting stronger and stronger. Not this week, but the week that follows. The Venus and Mars conjunction is going to activate that very strongly. So we will see something happening in the United States, something maybe financial, economical, of nature, because it is the country's second house of finances and values. So something is definitely going to take place there. A really powerful transformation, because both Mars and Pluto are planets that promise transformation. Venus value, Venus can represent basically the morality, the constitution, the very structure of a country's values. That which is way beyond money, for example. That which is like life. That which is liberty. That which is basically the very foundation of society. Now, of course, whatever this is, for some people it's incredibly uncomfortable and destructive, while for others it is a massive break of good fortune. And speaking about good fortune, Jupiter, as I said, sextiles Uranus, and when these two planets converse with each other harmoniously, and we must also not forget that Jupiter is extremely powerful in Pisces, that means good fortune. Uranus can represent basically the quantum truth that anything is actually possible, and reality doesn't always work the very linear way, the Newtonian way, so to speak. Sometimes reality is a big quantum anomaly and will react to certain energies or stimulants in very unusual ways. And I precisely mentioned stimulants because Uranus is the symbol of electromagnetic power. Our minds, so the brain physically and the physical heart, also have electromagnetic fields. So working with these two organs physically, so heart desiring, focusing on desire, and the mind planning, visualizing, allow the mind to execute, to give away shape and form, even if it's just fantasy. Well, these two symbolic interactions can trigger Uranus and Jupiter sextile to manifest something. Manifestation is quite possible because Uranus is in Earth sign. Taurus is fixed, immovable Earth, and Uranus shakes it up like an earthquake. So even that which was impossible until now can all of a sudden be possible. So this energy of Jupiter and Uranus together is very, very lucky, fortunate. This is where truly be careful what you wish for, because it can very, very quickly enter reality unexpectedly. This can represent a lot of surprises, a lot of random moments where maybe choosing to be in the right place at the right time, so following your intuition, can make you subject of a great blessing, of a great fortunate coincidence of any kind. So this is where listen to your gut, listen to your dreams, just be in this flow and good fortune can come to you. And also Jupiter, optimism, faith, and being really, really hopeful definitely helps. At the very, very end of the week, even the Sun starts holding a sextile with Uranus. That is another expression of lucky and fortunate energy. And at the same time, the Sun is getting closer to Jupiter, another expression of what good fortune and luck looks like, astrologically speaking. So that's 3 expressions of good fortune already. So for a lot of people, this is definitely going to be a period when luck just shines upon them, or fate guides them in a very miraculous or very direct way when they just cannot go wrong. What is required, because this is a sextile, so it's not just where you sit with your hands in your lap and it just comes to you. This is where you really have to be in tune to this. So stay in the vibe, stay in the frequency, allow yourself to be subject of divine work. Also, there is another perfecting energy in the sky, where this Venus and Mars conjunction starts slowly trining the North Node in Taurus. And that is also the energy of breakthrough, big purchase, big investment, or some values that we acquire for our long-term futures. That energy can be pretty big. It can be one moment when we make or the right action, or the right decision, the purchase, the right advice, or we do something big which contributes to a big value, staying with us, having it in our lives, in our longer term future. Of course, this doesn't necessarily have to be like money or material things. Saying yes to a relationship, romantic declaration, invitation, that can also be a perfect expression of this energy. Or like maybe you're a single professional and someone offers you this chance to collaborate or form an association, and you saying yes can basically catapult you to successes that you might have never even dreamed of. Needless to say that both Jupiter and Neptune in Pisces, well, they favor artists. They favor creative people. They favor those who dream, those who basically allow their Jungian creativity to be expressed in a physical or at least palpable way. Like a poet's creation is the poem on paper, on a hard drive, or even if someone just mentally knows the poem, it already exists. It's already palpable. So where I'm going with this is, this Jupiter and Neptune favor artists. So artists are living very, very, very intense periods in their lives right now. Either joy, sorrow, or a mix of both. Bittersweet, really, for them to be inspired maximally by, however fate and the course of destiny plays out in their lives right now. So all the stir up, all the bliss, all the sorrow, all the surprises, inconveniences, and the illusions. Everything is about the illusions. I thought it was like this, but no, really it's like this. And then it just goes on and on. This basically chase between the artist and truth, or the parents of truth, well, this is like the cosmic game that will inspire them for a lot of years to come. So if you're an artist or a spiritualist, a magician, anything of Neptunian of nature, even if whatever is happening to you right now seems like a wild goose chase, like the universe playing tricks on you, go with the flow, because you will definitely not regret this. This meeting of Jupiter and Neptune is once 166 years, so not everyone who was a relevant artist, etc., ever even met this energy while being alive, being incarnated. So you are extremely, extremely fortunate, because it will inspire you one way or another, whatever happens to you or whatever you feel, whatever altered state of consciousness you might be sent into by this Neptunian and Jupiterian energy simultaneously bombarding you, well, it will turn into alchemical gold, no doubt about that. So create, journal, document, dream, feel, allow yourself to feel the feelings maximally, because you're being definitely inspired and basically your soul is being fed. This period is also really important for loves and relationships, because existing couples who survived last year's ups and downs, well, for them this Venus and Mars conjunction, well, they are doing something important together for their long-term futures together, of course. So for those people who are in an established bond, this is a very important period in that sense, that they are fighting for their relationship, for their future, for their stability, for their family, everything included. While for those who are single and perhaps looking, this is when the big love can enter your life, of course with complications, of course with compromises, of course with surprises, but this might be a moment when the certain meeting of you and that person who you need happens, and this is also for the longer term future. This is Capricorn, meant to be. So this is not just let's experiment, this is where you have to make it work, chances are, so you must decide very, very wisely. While for other people, of course, this can take any shape and form, where this can also be like romantic, but have a professional part to it. It can be where there is a very, very strong attraction between you and someone, Pluto, of course, and even if it shouldn't work because of that attraction, it actually works out just fine. But for others, this is where the Piscean side is more active. So yes, unions do happen. Yes, strong fated changes in relationships happen, but they surface from the past. Maybe exes, maybe relationships which terminated very, very suddenly, and there needs to be a moment of closure, or there needs to be a moment when it resumes. There needs to be a moment when both you and that other person from the past are today different people and the confrontation takes place. So, it all depends, and for others still, because of this Uranus, it's a total shock, it's a total surprise, it's totally unexpected how someone finds them or how they find someone to make a union and a relationship, because this is one of the themes of 2022. I cannot stop repeating myself, I'm so sorry, but this is the year when very important alliances, partnerships, twos are going to be formed or resumed or whatever, they're going to be strengthened. Even if it's not romantic for you, there are so very many other areas in life when this can play out in another way, but there has to be a union, an alliance, or a connection, either new or old or long-lasting. But it's not a year when we have to take everything just onto the self, just be brave and solo life. This is when we have to collaborate, cooperate, and there has to be an alliance, even if that other person, the two, is us and a community, us, society, even if it's a group of people. When there is alliance, love, when there is mutual help, when there is matching philosophies, ideologies, and stuff like that, the relationship works, even if it's, as I said, a group of people. And naturally, everything karmic is included here. So if you are supposed to meet someone in this lifetime, well, this period, this February, March, and April, and even after, this year basically is definitely one of those years when that is very, very possible and quite probable. And not because you and your situation really, it's because everything is different. The world is different, society is different, and basically even our collective consciousness is already a bit different. So of course, things that we have never ever ever experienced before in any way, shape or form are gonna be experienced right now. So this is when life can also surprise us regardless of what we lived through before. And of course, this energy is also very philosophical in nature, all of it, so to speak, because through whatever happens in our lives in this period, the multitude of small and big events, coincidences, even routines, or even things which are internal, what we feel, when we feel it, how we feel it. This is how the universe, the divine, the source speaks to us personally. This is where it communicates. It not only shows us the path, but it is open. It is susceptible to take our input as well. It asks us, what do we desire? But we don't answer it back simply what we desire. We project it back by who it is that we are. Because right now, the only way to respond, to reply to the universe, to the divine, is through action. So we have to embody our faith, give it a shape and form or an action, or to speak it. We do have to do something right now in order to give a valid input to the universe, what we want to do and how we would like things to unfold to match our preferences as well. And when this communication, when this alliance between the source is active and harmonious, as in we listen to what it says to us, where it wants to guide us, and we also express our options and preferences, that's already a working alliance that already brings into perfection the numerological energy of 222, where the partnership is first and foremost between us and our divine source. And the divine source will definitely take a physical expression in our lives, and that will only happen in the shape and form of someone, another human being. Now, naturally, on the world stage, this intensity is gonna play out the usual way. Chaos, conflict, battles, disagreements, corruption, and crimes, of political and financial nature within governments being exposed and revealed. This is like an ongoing theme. This is where the karmic play out is definitely going to show itself on the world stage as well. So we as a collective can witness what the universe is telling us as a species, as a unity, so to speak, in which direction it wants us to go, or better said, it is advising us to go because it does respect our free will. It may want us to go here and there, but it will not enforce it on us, only advise us, and we have to make the choice. So right now, we as a species collectively are also contemplating and making very important choices, and they will reflect on the world stage. So a lot of fated and very important events are going to start happening, but this is just the beginning. All of March and all of April, and even basically all of 2022 from start to finish is gonna just be a huge show, like Revelations, the book of Revelation, things happening on the world stage which we never ever expected. They may not necessarily be like sci-fi, like alien ships and stuff like that, But what does actually happen will shock us and blow our minds, because some of it, a certain part of it, is definitely going to be unbelievable. But more about this as we start approaching the 12th of April. So this concludes this week's horoscope. As an advice, stay strong, stay optimistic, stay focused, believe in yourself, and more than ever, believe that right now, regardless of what you have in your life, what difficulties, hardships, hard feelings, depression, etc., if there was ever a time when you must believe that the universe is good intended and it is conspiring in your favor to help you, to create a better future for you, well, this time is now. And embodying this, not just believing and struggling to believe this, but empowering it so strongly that it becomes knowledge, no longer a belief. We just know that this is what is happening in our lives right now. Well, with this empowerment, a lot of things can happen, a lot of problems can be solved, and even a kind of life which is frozen solid, which has no chance to change or turn. Well, these are the times when even that kind of life, destiny, fate can simply be reborn. So don't give up hope. This is when fate is the strongest tool that we have with this Jupiter and Neptune. But as I said, this is like hardcore. If we struggle to believe, chances are that will just give us a symbolic help. But if we believe in it so much that we know without a doubt that the universe is working strongly right now, through us, with us, it collaborates with us, it co-creates with us, but literally, we ask it for help and it sends us a person, it sends us guidance, it sends us a phone number, something we see on the internet, and the connection happens and we get to where we need to be. We can see that playing out in our lives right now. So we have a lot of proof, so to speak, and a lot of mental and rational reinforcement to help us to just know that big things are happening in our favor right now. And 50% of that is under our control. And that gives us a sense of strength and stability in any way, shape, or form. So this concludes today's horoscope. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for being here. And thank you for allowing me to play a small part in your journeys. If you'd like to support my channel, if you'd like to help me keep on doing this work, you can donate as little or as much as you like in the PayPal link in the description below. So I wish everyone a wonderful and really, really fortunate and lucky next week. Until next time, bye for now.